experiments with Godot, a migration to Unity, writing tests for game development, and a big dumb mistake that I now have to fix. All that and a little bit more on today's devlog for March 2020. Hey friendos, it's DW here. So today is my March 2020 devlog, where I make myself a little bit more accountable to people out there, where I share my progress by stitching together a series of, I would call them, just quick updates that I recorded throughout the month, and kind of give you a summary at the end about what I managed to accomplish and where things are going. So that'll happen at the end of the video, and I hope you enjoy it. I kind of talk a lot about Unity and my migration to that, along with test-driven development, and you get to see the problem I currently have because I didn't do proper testing up front, so you could actually see a real-life example of that, so I hope it's kind of interesting to you. But before I get into it, I want to highlight something real quick. I'll talk more about it at the end, but over the course of April, I plan on doing some live streams here on YouTube. So if you want to follow me on Twitter or subscribe to the channel, that's going to be the best way to find out. There is no firm schedule yet, but they are going to be coding live streams where if I find something I can code from my prototype work, I will. It'll be late in the evening in my time, but details about that later at the end. In the meantime, let's get to those video updates. So spent the last bit setting up a C# project in Godot to see if I could import the Ink runtime DLL into a C# project, because I really wanted to see if I could use, I don't like using third-party stuff, I like using first-party stuff as best I can, and Inkle provides a DLL for that. And the good news is that it's completely successful. If you go look at this, if I zoom in a little bit here, we'll ignore that, I'll get to that red in a little bit. I can actually now do like var story, and I can do new story, which is exactly what I want to be able to do in code, is what I would normally do in Unity and what I have done in Unity. It's not going to work right now. It's going to throw an error because I don't have the JSON string imported. But you can see here I have IntelliSense, I have the Ink runtime available in my C# scripting. This is exactly what I need. The problem is all this red. This red that you're seeing down here, if it's hard to see on screen, I apologize, but I'm getting an error with the NS build toolset, and I'm not sure why. So the result of my experiment is that I'm not going to use Godot for the prototype. Reason being, I want to remove any technology problems out of the equation for the prototype. I'm really focused on gameplay and design. So I'm going to jump back over to Unity, which I haven't used in a while, more specifically 2019.3, the latest stable release, and focus on that, because all of the different narrative engines that I like, including Ink and also Yarn Spinner, that I'm looking at to experiment with for the Handshake prototype, come with they built a Unity integration. That's how they release them for the most part. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to use the supported tools to make my life a bit easier, and I'm going to keep on trying to triage the Godot issue as much as I can. But I really want to get the game moving. So it's kind of a bummer, but you know, got to keep going forward. All right, it's March 4th, and I've managed to get some work done on the Handshake prototype, along with get myself a little bit more organized. So I thought I'd take a minute or two here to walk you through my project for the playable proof of concept or playable prototype, just the most basic thing I can build to make sure this thing kind of works. So if you go through here, I've kind of filtered down my board here. My board breaks down like this. I have my goals prominent, and I've marked these as questions in GitHub. I've tagged them. I've created a tag or a label called question. And I want to answer this for myself is, can I represent success, failure in dialogue-driven gameplay? Now, I have a system already developed for that. So the answer should be yes, but I have to be able to program it and actually implement it. So that's kind of the goal of this whole system. In the backlog, I actually have a migrate ink to the Yarn Spinner tooling, which I won't talk about right now, but it is something I am very interested in doing because it is the other really cool dialogue engine that Unity supports. And over here, you can see what's on the backlog here for this specific milestone is I have calculate the score, delta response, to get the delta. This is actually implementing my system that I designed in the previous month. More importantly, though, I've been doing a lot of coding. And that's what's over here in the in progress section. So not only am I working on the narrative, which is mostly done, I think, I want to kind of make sure it plays well inside of Unity, but I also have been doing this, just implement the minimal dialogue gameplay mechanics and then set up a web-based prototype. And this is actually done already. I can export this to web. It runs in a web page, and that means I can start deploying it to either my website or itch.io, so people can just play it right there in the browser without having to download anything. And of course, over here I have the minimal dialogue gameplay. So this is just the mechanics, and I'll do a demo of that right away so you can see what I'm talking about. So I'm going to demo this in the Unity environment. I've gotten this going pretty quickly considering I haven't looked at Unity in almost a year now, maybe 6, 7, 8 months, something like that. If I just run what I've got here, it's not fully functional, but it's pretty good. So right now I push play and it's loading everything up using that ink, the ink Unity integration API and tooling, which is really great. And so you can see here, just loads up in the first line. I want you to sell me this pen, and then I have a bunch of choices. And if I click on any one of these, I have a console log message showing up over in the console window here. That shows me that we're registering this thing, we're registering that event and that selection. I'm hoping to get to the point where I'm continuing. That's actually the next thing I got to get done. But I have more stuff to get done today, so I'm going to work on that. And maybe later tonight I'm going to wrap this piece up. So I'd like to call this chunk finished and get it moving. So here's hoping. So over here in Visual Studio Code, you actually are all my tests that are written. For those that are a little bit more techie inclined, this is actually just using NUnit. They built on top of NUnit, which is fantastic, makes it very familiar. But if I go up over here and write a new test, write a test, I'll zoom in a bit, do test, public void, this test will fail. I kind of follow a behavioral driven development syntax, kind of given var expected, or given var, let's just call it testing is equal to true when we do testing is equal to false, then we do the testing. So assert that testing is equal to true. Now this is going to fail because as I kind of named my test up here, you want these to be as descriptive as possible. So if I zoom out for a sec and head over back to Unity, this should reload in a second. Oh, I have an error in my logic. Oh, assert r equal. So let's try that again. Assert dot r equal, we do testing is equal to, we want to be equal to true. And now we let this compile. We have our brand new test over here. So if I zoom in a little bit, you can see I've added it to the test scoring class. And if I run it, it does fail. So you can see I have my testing. This is the start of my regression testing suite. This is what I'm going to use for any game logic. I'm going to have to try to abstract that away from the actual game presentation or the view, which is what we usually see in Unity, and kind of focus that down to some tests and figure out how to test it. So that's been very helpful. I've been very, very happy that I managed to get this thing up and running. Final thing to update is my project board here. And as you can see, I've marked a bunch of things as resolved. These haven't been merged into the master branch or the final kind of stable branch yet, but they are resolved and they've been moved into my development branch, which is awesome. And that's all possible because of all the testing framework stuff that I've got implemented now. Now I can actually focus in over here on the display the win or lose condition, which is an actual gameplay experience. That's kind of why I like having the distinction between using the testing framework to do game logic stuff, and then I can actually do the implementation of game experiences separately, knowing that that logic is sound and tested. I can keep retesting it as much as I want. This will also allow me to test out a couple of things with the play mode testing that I haven't seen yet, so that'll be kind of cool. Lastly, I've decided to actually pull out the migrate ink from Yarn Spinner from the playable milestone, because at the end of the day, it doesn't actually help provide an answer to can I represent success or failure in the dialogue-driven gameplay. Being a solo dev, I need to kind of focus in on where I can and kind of solve the problems as I need to, and kind of really limit my time because I'm a very limited resource. And so this one, as much as I think is really important, I have designed the code to take this into account moving forward so it doesn't break the whole game. I don't have to rewrite the whole thing, but it doesn't help me answer things, so I am going to pull it out of the sprint. So that's kind of sucks, but at the same time, You want to make sure you stay on focus, stay on topic, and stay on target for your milestones. So it's March 23rd, pretty late in the evening here, and I thought I'd get some code done to kind of break my losing streak on coding every night. With everything going on, I've been kind of distracted, as many of us have been, but I thought tonight would be a good night to get back into it. And I just realized that I made a massive error, so I'm going to walk you through this. So let's zoom in on this. So I have two different types here. They're just enums, very basic ways of how the player is going to respond to questions from an NPC or dialogue from an NPC. So you have, these are the tone that they could have with their dialogue. It would be a bold response, relaxed, reserved, and sarcastic. Now the scoring system requires a type where every tone kind of represents two different types. So if I bring up, let's bring up OneNote, and you can see over here, this over here, these sarcastic, bold, reserved, and relaxed, those are the tones. While playful, serious, direct, and evasive, those on the other hand are the types of responses you can have. So now that we're back here, I have these two enums that represent that XY graph you kind of saw earlier. And every time a player makes a choice, they're going to have a tone response. They're going to have a tone to that response. And then I want to log that. That's a turn, and that turn gets logged, and we calculate all of our data from there. Here's the problem. You can see I got a bunch of red squiggles over here because I built this whole thing around this being response type. Now it compiles, but that's pretty useless to me because a turn doesn't have a type. It has a tone. The response has a tone. And this is a very frustrating error because this is just me getting confused with my naming convention. And it all made sense when I wrote this originally, but it is not making any sense now. Well, it makes sense now. It's just that I clearly got confused while I was writing the turn object. And now I have this problem. And unfortunately for me, I didn't do this iteratively, nor did I do it with a bunch of TDD early on. I kind of figured out the testing after the fact. But now I have to go in and refactor all this garbage, and that's gonna suck. And I'm not looking forward to it. And so, yeah, I'm gonna call it for the night, but that's where things are at. So, yeah, let's try to see if we passed our first test, shall we? We shall. Where's my Unity window? Okay. Clear results. So this is our new test down here. Initialize turn. Let's zoom in a bit. Oh, Windows Plus. Initialize turn has no response counts. So let's move that over. Run selected. Bam. Okay, that's good. We're on the right track here. We are on the right track, my friends. This is fantastic. Set to none. Okay, so that should hypothetically just run. Let's run the test. Let's run the test. Okay, let's clear the results. All that red is making me sad. Not really sad. This is what needs to be done. This is a bigger job than what I would normally expect. Okay, so we've zoomed in. Let's gonna run these. Run selected. Do I have? Oh, I have my debugger on. Let's close that guy. Perfect. And we got some more green. Yay! That's awesome. And that's everything I recorded on top of a little clip of my live stream from the end of the month. And at the end of the day, I'm happy with my progress. There's been a lot going on. Like, life has shifted very quickly. It wasn't so bad work-wise. Everything's stable here. But there's just a lot of change between family and working from home and my house being a lot busier than it normally is. So there's a lot of challenges with that, but I'm starting to find a bit of a rhythm with it. So I'm gonna get back onto the game dev and with that in mind, I'm going to start live streaming it again, and I'm going to do that on YouTube. So if you're already subscribed, you follow me on Twitter, that's the best way to actually find out when this is going to happen. There is no firm schedule, mainly because I don't know if I'm going to have a lot of content to stream or when it actually works with everything going on right now. So I'm kind of leaving it a little bit more gray. I will do my best to announce it on Twitter and Instagram, and I will also schedule the event on YouTube if I can do that as well. I kind of actually make it a scheduled event so you can see it pop up in your subscription feed. So if you want to subscribe, that'd be great. And also, if you have any comments or questions about the prototype or things you'd like to see what I'm doing with the prototype, shoot it in the comment section, because I'm open to feedback and interpretation of what I'm doing, and I'm just trying to share this stuff with the community. And that's kind of the big plan. So that's it. That's all I got. So until the next video, thanks for watching, and have yourself a great day and or evening. Take care of yourself.